Ladies and gentlemen, the officiating crew for today's match is the referee is Matt Fred. The assistant referees are Corey Richardson and Tom Felice. The fourth official is Andrew Eitel. It's now time to announce tonight's starting lineup for the visiting Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC. The goalkeeper number 33, Dan Lynn. Defender number 20, Joe Greenspan. Defender number 2, Toby Adewale. Midfielder number 25, Thomas Mancuizio. Midfielder number 13, Ben Zemansky. Midfielder and captain, number 11, Leonardo Forbes. Midfielder number 7, Cristiano Francois. Midfielder number 27, Romeo Parks. At forward, number 3, Lee Ray. Defender number 5, Jordan Dover. And defender number 9, Nico Brett. The head coach for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC is Mr. Bob Lilly. And tonight, starting for your New York Red Bulls 2, the goalkeeper number 48, Scott Levine. Defender number 37, Alan Giannis. Defender number 3, Kevin Follett. Defender and captain number 35, Jordan Scarlett. Defender number 41, Ethan Cutler. Midfielder number 23, Preston Caceres Jr. Midfielder number 5, Steven Echeverria. Midfielder number 89, Jose Aguinaga. And forward number 42, Brian Flint. Forward number 74, Tom Barlow. And at forward number 20, Armando Marino. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the New York Red Bulls is Mr. John Wolanek.
Hey, autumnal afternoon in Montclair, New Jersey for the final game of the season. New York Red Bulls 2 hosting the Pittsburgh Riverhounds as we look towards the playoffs coming up here on ESPN+. goals on the season, getting the start today.
Yeah, and for a team that usually plays for Bob Lilly, defensive first mentality, grind out results, but they do usually have strikers that can score goals, and this is a guy that's been in form lately.
Nico Brett will have to go up against New York Red Bulls 2, leading goal scorer on the flip side. Brian White scored the game winner last week. Heath has had a lot of experience both in MLS and USL this year.
And that experience is obviously paid in the form of points on the field, and this is a guy that, again, is continuing to get better each and every game, and I can't wait to see him play today.
He'll be a part of a new front line this week alongside Tom Barlow and Armando Moreno. It should be a good one between these two teams. Every time John Wolenek and Bob Lilly line up against each other, it is always fun. We've got it coming up for you here on ESPN Plus in just a moment as these two teams are out and ready for this one. New York Red Bulls 2 currently sitting in 7th in the Eastern Conference. They've got the potential to move up to 5th or drop down to 8th based on this result. They are trying to control their own destiny as much as they can, and especially trying to avoid that first-round game against FC Cincinnati. We'll be back in just a moment with all your first-half action here on ESPN+.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. So you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. A shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health. Life years ahead.
Moreno's 9th of the year.
Lancaster denied by Laurel.
His low shot off the post and in. Jared Stroud's got his hat trick. New York Red Bulls 2 take a 4-goal lead. This could be the final opportunity for fans at MSU Soccer Park to see their team here in 2018. New York Red Bulls 2 hosting Pittsburgh Riverhounds, trying to turn around a 3-0 loss the first time this year. You take a look at this Pittsburgh lineup. A few changes to this team as they already are locked in to their 3rd spot. But for you, Heath, you look at that Jamaican contingent in the attack.
Nico Brett, Romeo Parks, Canardo Forbes, these guys are all quality players and found a connection together, especially Forbes and Brett so far this year. Assists and goals between the two of them, and I can't wait to see how they approach this game since they've already qualified.
On the flip side for New York, a shuffle on the back line. Alan Yunez and Ethan Cutler coming at the fullbacks. No Hassan and Dom. Politz and Scarlett in at center back, but your focus for this one, Heath, was in that midfield.
Yeah, Caceres, anytime he's on the field, he changes the dynamic. When things get a little bit stressful, he slows the game down. He controls the tempo, and he's that leader, especially when he's on the ball.
John Wolenek here in his 4th year as head coach of New York Red Bulls 2, the only ever coach. We'll talk a little bit about his record over those years, one of the most successful coaches in the league. And then Bob Lilly, one of the most successful coaches in American soccer history, alongside his assistant, Mark Pulisic. Yes, that same last name that everyone knows. But Bob Lilly, champion with the Rochester Rhinos, set defensive records 3 years ago, and now getting it done in his first year with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. We are off and flying here on ESPN Plus. David Goss and Heath Pierce alongside you for this one as the crowd still files in. Could be the last chance of 2018 to see their team. Head official Matt Franz for this one, Corey Richardson and Tom Feliz, his 2 assistants, Andrew Eitel, the 4th official for this one, New York Red Bulls 2, in their white tops with red shorts, going left to right on your television. And the Hounds out of Pittsburgh in all black kits. Ano Moreno cuts inside early on here. Long touch, easily taken over by Van Kaziel. As I mentioned, Pittsburgh a 3-0 victory over New York Red Bulls 2 a couple months ago in their lone meeting this season. A game that Coach Wolenek said could have been worse than 3-0. It has been an incredible time to watch Coach Wolenek and Bob Lilly go up against each other in USL. Bob Lilly knocked John Wolenek out of the playoffs 4 years ago. And 3 years ago, and then it was in penalty kicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals where New York Red Bulls 2 finally exercised those demons as Brian Whiteshot goes into the arms of Dan Lynn for his first save of the game. Bob Lilly now sporting that yellow hat, comfortable on the Pittsburgh Riverhounds sideline. Quick start here, Heath, for Brian White.
Yeah, and we've seen Red Bulls 2 get off to a strong start, usually at home, control that momentum, trying to go forward. Very opportunistic. Good players on the ball. Like to see Tom Barlow get involved early on here. Big body, clearly athletic, but being a single striker up top, sometimes you got to make sure you get into the games nice and early, get your touches so you can find the rhythm, get on the same page as the players around you.
Barlow, his 23rd appearance, but just his 8th start of the year, 7 goals on the season. So he's looking to earn some more minutes here, Heath, as you said, trying to get comfortable. Brian White's been the starter in that center forward position, but we see him slide out wide a little bit today to make room for Barlow.
And I think for Brian White or for Barlow, it's been a tough argument for him to ask to get into that starting lineup. So every time he's getting minutes, he's having to prove himself. But now with Brian White moved to another position, it's his chance to continue to show that he's a different type of player. He brings something to the team that's different than what Brian White does.
Scarlett pushes that one away. And for White, it makes sense, Heath, in that he's played well in filling in for Bradley Wright Phillips, but there aren't going to be a lot of minutes there. So an opportunity for him to show he can make a difference in a different part of the field.
Yeah, and that's always hard for younger players is playing in positions that they don't feel is their best, playing in places that they're maybe not the most comfortable, but ultimately you want to get minutes, right? So you can either see your trajectory behind a Bradley Wright Phillips and say, I'm going to get my few matches a year, or you've got to develop other positions and other skill sets so that you can challenge to be on the field, whether it's up top or on the wing.
Alan Yanez down the sideline there. The Guatemalan full international now. Got over 45 minutes against Argentina in a friendly just a few months ago. Turnover there. Forbes keeps it alive. Keeps it moving into the feet of Lee. Lee drops it back for Zemansky. And Zemansky in his first year with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Greenspan with the turnover. Casares now trying to push the attack, and Zemansky comes back and recovers. It's almost a long touch there, but worked out well for Dover, and he can't find a teammate. Heath, if you're Pittsburgh, you know New York Red Bulls 2 are going to press you. What do you think about that idea there from Greenspan to try and cut that ball back up the middle of the field?
Well, obviously the execution was poor, but I like the idea to try to break through that press, right? You want to test that press. If you're hesitant to test that press and you're just playing the ball over the top, you're playing right into what the Red Bulls 2 want you to do. So I think if that execution is right, it's a chance to break those lines of pressure and move the ball up the field and also start to kind of probe what it is or where those weaknesses are in the Red Bulls 2 defensive scheme.
It'll be Ray Lee to throw this one in. Lee, part of a large former Rochester Rhino contingent on this Pittsburgh team. As we said, Coach Lilly, very successful in this league, knows what he likes and has brought in a lot of the players he's familiar with to cause this very quick turnaround for Pittsburgh here in 2018. Aguinaga finding a gap, finds Moreno's feet, knocked down at the top of the box and finally cleared by Greenspan. Politz will let that one roll out. First real dangerous look, though, for New York of the game.
Nice little ball to the corner there. Good crashing runs in the box. Obviously, nothing comes of it, but like that willingness to get forward and test that back line early.
Now an opportunity the other way for Brett. His shot blocked by Scarlett. Politz clears it off a teammate, and Cutler the first to get to it. And Heath, exactly how we expected, that combination play between those two forwards in Parks and Brett, creating a threat. Now New York going back the other way. Barlow's cut back. And once again cleared away by Pittsburgh. End-to-end stuff here to start out this one. New York Red Bulls 2. Looking to move up the playoff standings in the final game of the 2018 regular season. That one clipped over the top. The header from Parks goes wide.
Both these teams looking to settle in a little bit, but kind of going all out on the attack. As you look here, good tackle, but again, pace and numbers. Red Bulls 2. See Armando Moreno with his hands up, asking for that cut back where Barlow didn't see him, but attacking with those numbers at pace, really keeping that back line uncomfortable from the Hounds.
Looks like Pittsburgh Riverhounds coming out here in what I believe is a 5-3-2 as Moreno gets by one defender, has it cleared away. Coach Bob Lilly, always reliable in trying to throw us off the formation to start a game, Heath, but he seems to have Vanka Yazil in that center back role alongside Adewole and Greenspan. We've seen a few of them step out and make plays so far to start this game.
It looks like they've playing in a 3-back or a 5, depending on whichever way you want to say it, line.
Yeah.
Obviously wary of the counter press that is so famous in the Red Bull system, organization.
Inez now making some space up the field. Ball down the wing. Adewole gets there first. Heath, if you're a fullback playing as a wingback, does that give you more freedom? Does it make it easier?
It depends what team you're on. If you're a team that doesn't hold the ball a lot or allow you to sort of inch up or cheat into good spaces, then it makes it more difficult because you're expected to sort of defend as an outside back. You start to drop a little bit more flat. But a lot of that 3-back system or that 3 center back system, it's becoming more and more common now. That's about reps. It's about knowing what your responsibilities are. They're clearly different than when you're playing in a flat 4. So if you get on the same page, it can make your job a lot easier as a wing back. But I never really enjoyed it that much because when I had to play in that system, you train for a day and then do it on the weekend, and I feel like that type of formation should have a little bit more.
You understand the sentiment in that New York Red Bulls 2 are the highest-scoring team in the league. But at the same time, you'd think it would be harder to play out of their high press because you've got less options up the field to play to. There's one less midfielder or one less outside player, and you've got 5 guys in the back starting to knock it around.
Yeah, and that's where you have to find those spaces. It's going to be the movement of that Jamaican contingent, how to break down that press, because there are pockets, there is space, and whether that's hitting those balls into the channels and pushing your lines up and doing that 2-3 times to force them to have to respect the way you're going to attack, or it's finding where those pockets on the field are. You ultimately have to find those spaces, and you have to take what the game is giving you, and that's going to come down to a lot of how they approach the game tactically. what they saw on video going into this week in terms of where the weaknesses are in this press so that they can break it down?
And, of course, there's always the element of if New York Red Bulls, too, were to draw this game, they would be 6th place in the Eastern Conference, which means they would head to Pittsburgh next weekend to play the Pittsburgh Riverhounds in a one-game knockout playoff. How much is Bob Lilly holding his cards here and maybe showing something he wouldn't use because he's locked into 3rd place and has nothing really to play for?
Yeah, he had us tricked on the lineup alone in terms of where he's putting players on the field. So, no, I think it's a chance for him to rotate his squad a little bit today. Play a different formation, different style. Also the ability to show a different type of team that he puts out, and if it does well, and they do end up playing each other, the Red Bulls too are maybe second guessing how they're going to approach that game. It's a mystery. These teams tend to know each other quite well, so.
Cutler heads this one down. Casares going with a quick ball up the field. Greenspan gets there easily. Joe Greenspan, his 2nd year with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, was on loan from Minnesota United twice in 2017, but has played the full season now with this squad here in 2018, now in his 21st start. Part of what is one of the best defenses in the league. Lynn puts that one into the crowd. Great punch from a fan just a few rows below us. Gigi Buffon here in the crowd.
the two-fist punch, clearing the lines.
And a catch to finish it off right next to us. Didn't even see that. New York Red Bulls, too. Everyone knows, one of the most talented fan groups, supporters groups in the league, the Rampage. You can hear their drums behind the goal. New York Red Bull, too, are attacking. Adewale wins that first header. Casares goes up, wins that one, but now a chance to attack for Francois. Dover easily going by Casares. Echeverria cleans up his mess. And now Brian White's going the other way. Looking for the through ball for Barlow, and it was just too far behind him. Lynn out to take it.
Nice bit of skill from both teams here. One of the things that I like, though, just from the first 12 minutes or so, is that attacking with numbers, and obviously the execution of this one from Brian White to try to find Barlow through is off just by a step, but, as soon as they see that break, they commit to it, and you see 3-4 players making dynamic runs. And when you're a defense that's having to transition, or a team that has the ball and transitioning quickly to defense, it's difficult to get players into position to block those lanes.
Zemansky trying the one-touch pass there. Got put in a tough situation. Couldn't find Lee. Ben Zemansky, longtime professional out of Ohio. Played, of course, at local Akron. Won a national championship under Caleb Porter before joining him at the Portland Timbers for a number of years. Zemansky part of a large contingent of Akron alumni who played professionally. More or less, you think, than Portland?
More.
Yeah?
In terms of that have gone professional?
Yeah.
More, but less that have been at the highest level professionally. I'm putting Portland up against most in terms of national team players created both on the men's and women's side.
Who's number one in that conversation? UCLA? UVA?
Gotta be one of those two, I would guess.
I think UCLA has a national team that could compete in a World Cup if you put together, seriously, their best players.
Well, there is the argument that, someday California becomes its own national team.
So you've still found a way to find pride in all of this. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would just like to say Northeastern University has won a CAA championship. So if we're counting those, how many does Portland have? There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I did see people create depth charts for the California national team, and I was like 4th at left back.
Really? Who was ahead of you?
Boca? Yeah, Boca, Johnny Bornstein. There's been a lot of national team guys out of California.
Heath, I take you over Johnny B.
Thank you.
I give you that. Although Johnny B ripping it up in Israel right now. Ball down the line here for Parks as we get back to the game. High shot taken by Scott Levine, and just his 4th start of the season. The UConn Husky Gets his first real touch of the game here, Heath.
That's a great little, obviously first touch lets him down a little bit to cut back, but still takes the opportunity. Easily handled, but those types of little moments help to get attacking players a little bit more into the game, even though nothing comes of it. Just getting touches. Again, in these systems, sometimes attacking players feel a little bit isolated or don't get the ball, and it's tough to stay focused or stay involved.
Ball over the top here for Brett. An all CONCACAF battle there, and Yanez comes away with the victory. Now Pollitt's up the field looking for the feet of Barlow. Greenspan pushes him off. We've seen Dover be aggressive here when in possession. Loses it. Now Aguinaga trying to start the attack. Arda Forbes drops it back. Banka Yazil with the switch field ball to Lee. Select is the official soccer ball of the USL. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit www.selectsportsamerica.com. See free shipping on orders over $50. The USL season coming to a close. It's been a special one here in 2018. Of course, one team leading the conversation so far as Moreno drops it back out for Barlow. FC Cincinnati blowing everyone else away in the standings. 77 points. We've got 11 points better than the second best team in the league. Heath, there is the small chance that if New York Red Bulls 2 fall in this game, they could drop down to 8th and have to head to Cincinnati next week in what you know is going to be a wild environment against the best team in the league.
I don't think that's all bad if that happened. You're going to have to face them eventually, right? Red Bulls 2s are in form. They've played well on the road recently after struggling a bit earlier in the year to get results on the road. They've now 2 wins and 2 draws.
Aguinaga here. Daniel Lynn makes the slide tackle. Offside flag goes up, but it looked like Aguinaga was going to be in on goal. We haven't seen a lot of mistakes in the back so far for Pittsburgh. That almost the worst of the beginning of this game. So now a free kick coming here for Pittsburgh. What do you make for New York Red Bulls? So they hadn't won a game on the road, and they've won their last 2 games, both basically playoff games. One against North Carolina FC, who was sitting 1 spot behind them in the playoffs, a 2-1 win on the road, and then a 3-1 midweek win at Penn FC, which ended up clinching their playoff spot. How does a young team like this start to change that?
Well, clearly they seem to handle pressure. They seem to handle stakes, and this is the perfect time of the year that you want to be handling that, right? This is the time that you want to be testing your players because you're right around the corner from the playoffs. So again, when I'm talking about them having to play against Cincinnati, there's a belief right now within this squad. There's a belief within this team that they can go on the road and they can match up against the best team in the league. And I think that it's a positive time, right? Sometimes you see teams peak mid-season or later in the season, or they go through those kind of trending moments where they're getting results, whereas, on the road for a team that's struggled, I think it's a huge lesson for them and a confidence builder to get results at this point in the season, especially when they've rotated the squad so many times.
And one of the big pieces coming in has been Christian Caceres, who has played both with his international team in Major League Soccer and USL over the last few weeks. And you can just see a difference here, Heath, as free kick coming for the Hounds. Clipped on the back of the heel, but you can see the difference of this team when Caceres is in there and when he's not.
He's so calm in his movement in and out of spaces around that holding midfield spot, that 2-way number 8 position as well. He just creates a lot of space, and that opens up space, and it gives more confidence to players like Echeverria as well, where they can now pop in and out and know that you have somebody who's going to find you in a good spot. He's going to move in and out. He's going to control the tempo for you so the team stays calm. Just a pleasure to have on the field with your team.
Few players standing over this one. It'll be Forbes to take. He drives it low, easily saved by Levine. Canardo Forbes putting that one on frame. Pretty simply taken there by Levine in the end.
Yeah, well handled, as expected. But I was saying before, when you have a player like Caceres on the field, guys like Aguinaga get more time on the ball. Guys like Echeverria get more time on the ball. You get more quality. When he's going to feed you that ball, it's going to be a good ball, and he's clever enough to see not what the necessarily the pass in front of him is, but that next pass that allows players to get into better positions.
Long ball over the top by Yanez. Zemansky there with the mistake. And he closes down, catches the ankle there of Caceres. And now he will have a nice little conversation with Matt Franz, our head official.
Sometimes the biggest sign of respect is, as we've talked about him, is somebody willing to come and clip you down and try to get in your head. Ben Zemansky, obviously an experienced player, full years in Major League Soccer, knows exactly what he's doing there.
Zemansky in his 20th start of the year. Caceres clips this one over the top, headed away. Ankayazio with the initial header. Now Lee with the second defensive header. Another one coming here. Ankayazio drops it down. And now Dover looking to start the counterattack. And Yanez closes that one off quickly. Alan Yanez in his first year with New York Red Bulls 2. Coming over from Antigua in his native Guatemala. Yanez now in his 9th appearance in USL. Forbes down the line for Parks. A lot of white shirts around Parks, and Echeverria finally takes the ball away. Barlow lays it off for Aguinaga, who's dragged down by Forbes. So another free kick coming here for New York. Midway through this first half here, Heath, what have you seen from these two squads so far?
I feel like the game really hasn't settled down yet. It's still a little bit of a two-way game. Everyone's looking to sort of settle into their system. The Red Bulls, too, who are usually pretty good out of possession. We've seen a few off passes from Caceres and that central midfield, which has led to a few half counterattacks from the Hounds. And on the opposite side, you know, again, they're still looking to settle in. So I'd like to see, hopefully, in the next 5-10 minutes, one of these teams start to really put their foot on the game or put their mark on the game a little bit and force the other team to make some adjustments. But so far, it looks like it's just been a two-way match.
You can watch highlights from every game of the 2018 season and stay up to date with news from across the USL at the league's official Facebook page, facebook.com/USL Soccer. It is the best time of the year. It's playoff time. Whether it's a cup final, whatever it is, Heath, a one-game knockout game is the best you can get. The energy, the tension, and we're going to have 8 of them next week across the 2 conferences, and then moving forward all the way to the USL Cup final. It's going to be fun.
One-game knockout games are the best. I mean, the stakes are what they are. They're self-explanatory, right? And it's whether you've got a vested right in the match or not. It's exciting. The games are more intense. The players are playing a little bit different. There's pressure. You get to see who's ready to rise to that challenge. Yeah, you get to see potentially overtime PKs, which everyone hates, but also everyone secretly loves. Like, you turn on a game or you open up the a website and you're like, oh, something's in PKs? I'll throw it on. Exactly.
Like, I'll watch that. I mean, you could have a situation where Nashville, who's put up 49 points this year, has a chance to knock off FC Cincinnati, who's put up 77, because it's a one-game playoff and anything can happen.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how you get there at that point. Everyone's outside of the home field advantage. Everyone's equal.
New York Red Bulls, too, know that so well. They were the 7 seed last year. Got all the way to a penalty kick shootout to lose it in the Eastern Conference Finals. They knocked off the 2nd and 3rd place teams in the East before falling to Louisville City. This through ball for Zemansky, just a little bit too hard. It will roll out for a goal kick. So as we said, New York Red Bulls 2 currently sitting in 7th place in the Eastern Conference with Bethlehem Steel FC's 1-0 win against the Tampa Bay Rowdies just about an hour ago. If New York wins this game, they move up to 5th and would end the season there, head to Charleston next week for their game. If they tie this game, they move up 1 spot over Indy 11 to 6th place, and they would head on the road to face this Pittsburgh team next week. If they lose this game and stay where they are, they will be going to Louisville. In the 2-7 seed, there is a scenario where they could lose and drop down 1 more spot. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So New York Red Bulls too know how much this game means to them. Pittsburgh, as I said, locked in to the 3 seed, 7 points behind Louisville City in 2nd place, 3 points ahead of Charleston, who have closed out their season already. And you got to think, for New York, you want that game at Charleston. They drew 3-3 at Charleston already this year. The Battery coming in, they've lost 2 of their last 3. You look at the other teams up there, Louisville on a 5-game winning streak. This Pittsburgh team, which is one of the toughest teams defensively, haven't lost in over a month. And, of course, FC Cincinnati, and we know how tough a game that will be. Politz pushes it wide as Nico Brett's still down on the field. Barlow trying to find the feet of Aguinaga. And that ball immediately cleared straight up the field. Matt Franz finally has Jordan Scarlett put that one out. Scarlett was a full-time starter for this team last year. Came back from a long injury layoff to begin his pro career. Started the last 11 games of the regular season in 2017 and then has struggled to find minutes here in 2018, but has the captain's armband today, helping fill in for Hassan Endam, who has played almost every minute of this season.
Again, when you get to this point in the season, you know, you're talking about so many things these players are playing for, not just positioning in the playoffs. They're playing for jobs. They're playing for pride. They're playing for all these things that, you know, for a player like him, a chance to wear the captain's armband on a day you're giving a player another rest, another opportunity for him to show his quality into this team, to show what he's capable of, to show that he should be part of the plans for the future.
Is that something that's discussed with players? I mean, you look at Scott Levine here getting his 4th start of the season. This is probably a, you know, is he going to be part of our plans next year situation? Is that something a coach says to you?
I mean, typically coaches will say that when you're losing games. That's when it gets used most. You're playing for your jobs and things like that. And sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. But really, it is an opportunity if you're a good manager or a good staff. You're constantly having these check-ins with players, and you're allowing them to understand, you know, the stakes of why they're playing today, or what this match means for them to be on the field. But, you know, professionals, you know, if they take their craft seriously, they got to have that self-awareness to know that they're constantly playing for a job, whether that's a starting position, whether that's a new contract, and these types of things. So I think he's probably pretty well aware of his situation, but it is something that is discussed quite regularly with coaching staff.
For New York Red Bulls too, how tough is that? Because a lot of these guys are first-year pros or, you know, teenagers. How tough is it to learn that? How long did it take you to understand when it went from being, you know, college soccer or youth soccer to a job?
I mean, pretty quickly. I mean, these guys are training year-round in a professional environment, professional facilities. They can see what's off in the distance, especially for this USL squad to the MLS squad. They can see the competitive nature of players getting the opportunity to train with the MLS team.
Barlow here gets a mistake. One-on-one now with Lynn. Puts it on his right foot and rolls it in. His 8th goal of the year, and the Red Bulls 2 take the lead. The New York Red Bulls 2 were shut out by the Pittsburgh Riverhounds in their first matchup this year. They get the opening goal here in the 31st minute.
Again, that press, opportunistic there, but a great first touch to set himself up, and then that finish to the back post. Nice and calm. You can see he looks on that back post, and sometimes that gives it away to the goalkeeper, but he slots it so well. Puts his team up 1-0. Great finish, great start.
And you see all of what Barlow brings there, the explosion with the speed to get away, to make sure no one can catch him, but then the composure to finish his 8th goal of the season here for New York Red Bulls 2 to take the lead late in this first half.
When you're a player like him that has the speed and the
Parks now in a little bit of space. He cuts back. Zemanski had his hands wide calling for that ball. Finally gets it now. Pittsburgh looking to answer immediately. Cutler clears it out. Dover now puts a cross in, but that one too high for everyone.
What I was saying with a player like Barlow, who has those sorts of natural skill sets like speed, athleticism, it helps to have it in your toolkit to be able to do that press that he does, because he coughs up that turnover, and he knows that in a foot race, in a 1-to-1, if he gets that 1 or 2 yard head start, no one's catching him. It's exactly what happened there, and then to be able to have that collected mind or cool mind to be able to finish and keep it low and pick your spot and put it there it's impressive.
Battle there between Parks and Cutler. Scarlett chooses to clear it away. Game stopping here as Politz took that ball to the face. Heath, we've seen moments throughout this first half where it looks like New York Red Bulls 2 have gotten sucked in a little bit to what Pittsburgh wants to do and have played early balls direct out of the back, trying to play high when they don't have a size advantage really, except for Barlow across that front line.
Yeah, and that's where you want to have a player like Caceres say something to the team, and maybe he's not the most vocal leader, but know that you have the quality around you to not have to skip lines all the time. If you get into that physical battle, you know, you've got 6-foot-plus defenders that are going to win that every single time. This is a technical squad that's very good when they play underneath and very good when they play into channels and have a number of different ways to attack you, but certainly their biggest strength is not lumping it up the field and challenging 50-50s against the center backs. Though I would say having Barlow up there, who's a bit more of a scrappy player, who's willing to scrap and kind of fight for spaces, offers a little bit, something a little bit different than a Brian White, but still doesn't really play into the team's strengths.
The USL's official Twitter feed keeps you up to date with news, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Follow at USL on Twitter. You can follow Heath Pierce on Twitter. What's the handle?
Heath Pierce.
Nice. That's such a good one to figure
yeah.
out. It helps if you have, I guess Heath's a common name. Not the most common name. How many other Heath Pierces were there on there that you had to fight?
One.
Are you guys friends now?
Yeah. He's a Canadian guy. He gave it to me.
Wow.
I sent him a signed jersey, and he gave me the handle.
Wow.
In trade, yeah. That's a true story.
Venka Yazil here, down the end line. Brett keeps it alive. Venka Yazil trying to make up for the mistake that led to the goal. His shot was blocked, and then Zemanski puts that one over the top. We see a little more attacking impetus, though, from this Riverhounds team in the 5 minutes since they conceded.
Nice little technical skill there. Great little diagonal slotted ball. And again, one of the things that we see so often in this league is a lot of guys want to check back and get the ball at their feet. They want the ball in easy positions. But when you start to see, like there, little diagonal runs that start to pull center backs out of positions, those diagonal runs that are between the center back and the outside back, they're difficult to defend. When you have players willing to make those runs, it disrupts things and it offers you opportunities to attack behind that back line.
Inez touches that one away. Barlow takes a push in the back from Greenspan. You know, I always ask people for favors. No one ever wants my signed stuff.
I'm pretty sure that guy realized that that signed shirt wasn't worth anything once it got to him. But it is kind of cool to have a signed shirt from somebody who has the same name as you, I guess. But no, he gave up the handle, so now they're all the same.
Wow.
Nice guy. nice people in Canada.
Yeah. That's where we should end up. We could run a racket. We'll just give away Heath Pierce signed jerseys in return. We'll barter for things.
You're not going to get much. You know.
Dover here on the ball. Forbes now looking for some space. To the feet of Francois. Francois clips this one over the whole box. Brett gets there first. Now Dover. Zemansky pushed all the way back. Van Yazeel into the feet of Forbes. New York Red Bulls too, dropping numbers here, defending with 11. Can the Riverhounds find a way to break this one down here in the final 10 minutes of this first half? Almost popped through there off the head of Politz. Adewale. Able to find the feet of Lee. Now Francois looking for space down the left wing. Swept away by Cutler. A foul called here. Heath, have you seen anything specific from Pittsburgh that have put them on the offensive, or is New York Red Bulls 2 dropping deep since they've scored?
Hasn't been anything really specific other than the fact that they've, as Pittsburgh have gotten the ball, they've continued to play more forward passes, more passes into nice spaces, which has forced this Red Bull 2 team to drop a little bit deeper and deeper, and they haven't really been able to clear their lines in a way that's any sort of possession-oriented, so it's allowed the Hounds to sort of lean on them a little bit more.
Ball coming in here, headed away by White. Clip back in now for a second chance. Can Pittsburgh get a clean look here? Lee's got space. He looks to cut it back. Knocked down, calls for a handball there from Pittsburgh, but our head referee, Matt Franz, not agreeing. And now looking for another bite at it. Pittsburgh charging forward. Brett here with a little bit of space. Lays it off for Forbes. His shot blocked by White. Last-ditch defending here for New York Red Bulls 2, clinging to a 1-goal lead late in this first half.
I think we're starting to see a lot more numbers forward. Great little ball there. Nice and calm to with a shout for a handball from some of the players, but referee's in a close position. And then here, good commitment to step out. A lot of times when you have those square balls cut across, everybody looks at the player next to them to see if they're going to be the one to step out, but cover that one well. But it seems like we're starting to see a lot more numbers in advanced positions for the Hounds right now, which I think they struggled with early on with playing with 5 in the back. Sometimes you end up sitting in a little half circle and not being able to, like you said, find those positions high up the field, and now they're having numbers where they can win the ball higher, possess it a little bit more, and be in more dangerous positions to attack on goal.
Aguinaga trying to start the attack. That was a good link-up between him and Caceres before the turnover. Now Pittsburgh trying to go quick back the other way. Caceres swings it up the line. Moreno in a foot race. He'll lose. Adewale battles his way back into it. And now Lee beats the first defender. Forbes' pass is lost. And now Caceres will put his foot on it for a second. New York Red Bulls 2 took the lead just about 10 minutes ago through the opening goal by Tom Barlow. Pittsburgh hasn't had any clear-cut chances. They've created some good half looks. Heath, especially when they've gotten the ball into that right or left channel inside the 18, looking for that cutback. They just haven't been able to complete it yet. They've had 3 or 4 chances.
Right now, I just mentioned, you're starting their possession up at the half line, right? Which means the Red Bulls, too, are having trouble getting out of there with possession or any sort of valued possession. So you can start to feel that weight being put on them and that little bit of confidence for those outside backs now in that 5-man back line or 3-man back line to cheat up a little bit, be in advanced positions, which just moves the game up further up the pitch as opposed to them trying to play out of the back, and when they don't have anything, they're just dumping it long.
We haven't seen the long direct balls from Pittsburgh be very effective throughout this game. Similar to what we see there from Zemanski with the turnover. Caceres turning with 3 defenders around him. He's somehow able to keep possession, then turns it over on the through ball attempt. And now Francois going to go back the other way. There have been a number of collisions already in this game. We expect to see more. White back into the feet of Yanez. Yazil with the interception there. Definitely seen him recover from that mistake to give up the goal. Yazil in play very well to close out this first half. Scarlett trying to break the lines there into the feet of Moreno. Loses it to Adewale. If you're Coach Wolenek here, Heath, what are you looking at for these last 5 minutes of this first half? What do you think his comments are going to be at halftime?
Well, for the last 5 minutes of this half, I'm saying to be intelligent, have a little situational awareness, right? You're up 1-0. You're in a good spot. Great entry ball from Jordan Scarlett there, which they didn't get the foul for Armando Moreno, but that almost led to a counterattack the other way. So it's about not so much about the pass, because I thought the pass was good, but about the players around them being ready to transition onto defense quickly and see out this half the right way.
New York Red Bulls, too, knocking it around the back. Moreno finds himself on the floor once again.
He's not getting any love today from the ref.
Francois has been active in this first half, going sideline to try and find the ball. Cristiano Francois, a native of Haiti, but grew up here in the area, played at St. Benedict's Prep High School. Down the wing now for Yazil. Headed away by Yanez, and now Aguinaga brings it down. Flicks it by Zemanski. Zemanski's furious that the flag didn't go up for it being out of bounds. And now Aguinaga puts it too far ahead of the path of Lee. Long ball into the feet of Parks. Francois finds some space to back out on the wing for Dover. A few moments here for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, locked up for the 2018 USL regular season. One of the big dogs going into the playoffs. They already know that. Can they end it on a high note? Keep that unbeaten run going. We've got a minimum of 1 minute of stoppage time coming up here at MSU Soccer Park. Don't forget to stick around for halftime. We will have all of your weekly awards for USL action. We'll have an out-of-town scoreboard as well as we close out the USL regular season for 2018. And then, of course, we'll have your second half action coming up here from MSU Soccer Park. White bodies off Forbes. Looking for Barlow. It's knocked away, but only as far as Aguinaga. New York have been second best since the goal. They would love to steal one at the last few seconds here. As Pollitt switches the field. Coach Wolnick just behind Cutler right now, telling him to be safe. Heath, go up the field, and then Levine does. Scarlett comes flying through opponents and teammates. Forbes now. Got by Echeverria, couldn't get by Cutler, who knocks it out. And our head official, Franz, pushes him back just a few feet. Tom Barlow in the 30th minute. His 8th goal of the season, the lone strike so far for these two teams. It was a 3-0 win for Pittsburgh at home in their first matchup of the year. New York leading 1-0 here in the second matchup at MSU Soccer Park. Heath, for these two coaches going in now to the locker room, what's the focus going to be?
Look, I think it was an opportunity to try a 3-man back line there. The focus is to continue to test that maybe. Not a lot to play for on one side, but on the Red Bulls too, the focus is to gain a little bit more possession, play a little bit more in the style that they've been playing more this season. Didn't really settle in the first half, so I think they can find a way to settle in, get some possession, calm down a little bit, and start to find those pockets. I think will open up the game for them quite a bit in the second half.
Pittsburgh Riverhounds with Nico Breck, 15-goal scorer up top. Canardo Forbes, their leading assist man with 8 on the year. You know they've got plenty in the attack to try and turn this one around and take it from New York Red Bulls 2. Currently, New York Red Bulls 2, if they can hold on, would clinch a 5th place in the Eastern Conference, which would mean a trip to Charleston. If they tie or lose, they could be headed to Cincinnati. We'll see. It's all coming up here in the second half on ESPN+.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. So you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. A shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health, life years ahead.
Moreno's 9th of the year.
Lancaster denied by Laurel.
His low shot off the post and in. Jared Stroud's got his hat trick. New York Red Bulls 2 take a 4-goal lead. It's been a good afternoon so far for the fans at MSU Soccer Park. A perfect fall afternoon, Heath, that's finally here, and it feels so good. A nice, gloomy, autumnal afternoon. New York Red Bulls 2 have been enjoying it so far with the 1-0 lead. And Heath, we talked about Brian White in the open, playing alongside Barlow. How do you think he's done?
I think I'd like to see them a little bit more connected. He's done well. The team is winning. See here, nice little shot on frame to open up early in the match, but I'd like to see him more connected in the attack. I'd like to see him more dangerous. Nice little touch and make there. Again, that final pass is off just a little bit on the run to Barlow, but you know, again, active, willing to go forward. I'd like to see that final pass, that final touch, or that final finish be a little bit sharper.
And on the flip side, we talked about Nico Brett coming to this one. 15 goals on the year. We've seen the danger in that 2-man strike force.
Well, in the final moments of the half, we started to see them move up the field a little bit more, start their attack higher on the field, which allows Nico Brett to get more involved, right? Earlier on in the match, he was a little bit isolated, but again, you know, he's had a few half looks on goal. Confidence started to build there in the second half, starting to get a little bit of help around him. Be interesting to see if they keep him on for the full 90 minutes, what he's capable of. And again, that dynamic little run, diagonal run there behind the back line. Those clever little diagonal runs are what tear back lines apart, as we've mentioned, so interested to see if he can get in more positions like that in the second half.
For New York Red Bull 2 fans, don't forget you can check out all of the New York Red Bulls 2 playoff coverage coming up on NewYorkRedBulls.com/2. It's going to be an exciting run. New York Red Bulls 2 have been to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. They are looking to make it 3 years at least in a row. When we come back, we'll have your first half highlights. We will take a look around the league, and we'll talk about potential playoff standings here in the USL. Let's take a look at the awards for the week. Jure Matazic with the goal of the week for Sacramento Republic. Another fantastic season for Sac Republic.
Great ball there. Keeps it down. It's on frame, but it's hard to redirect balls that come in at that angle. Does well to keep it on frame.
It was a special night last night in Sacramento, giving a young man the opportunity to put on the jersey and be a part of that club. And the player of the week, of course, Romario Williams. 2 goals to lead the comeback against regional rival Charleston Battery in the second half. Down at home, the first year for Atlanta United, too. This one, a beautiful little finish from Williams. Williams, of course, was a big-time goal scorer for the Charleston Battery in the past, but now lacing it up for the 5 Stripes. Romario Williams, of course, leads that front line. You take a look at the back line, though, for this team. Forrest Lasso and Joe Greenspan facing off in that matchup last week, a 0-0 draw between FC Cincinnati and Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Could be an Eastern Conference Finals preview. And then Hassan Endam getting in that defense as well. He's had a great week, as we said, New York Red Bulls too. Back-to-back road wins to clinch a playoff spot. When we take a look at the stats for this one, Heath, it kind of bears out what you've been saying, which is not a whole lot happened. 2 shots on goal between these two teams, slight possession advantage, but by New York Red Bulls too, but we really didn't see the attack wake up for Pittsburgh Riverhounds until they conceded.
Absolutely, and I think neither team really settled in well in the entire 45 minutes. You know, every 5 minutes I was sort of hoping that one of these teams would just settle in and start to dictate play a little bit, but it was always that final pass, that next pass, that square ball where it was off a little bit that sort of killed the rhythm of the team moving forward. So, you know, looking at the second half, would like to see both these teams settle in and play to the quality that I know they're capable of.
And these fans want to see that as well. I can tell you this, New York Red Bulls too have been one of the highest scoring teams in the league in the second half. So we know it's going to get good over these last 45 minutes. Come back here to ESPN Plus. We'll be back with all your first half highlights and second half action coming up in just a moment.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. So you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. A shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health. Life years ahead.
Moreno's 9th of the year.
Lancaster denied by Laurel.
His low shot off the post and in. Jared Stroud's got his hat trick. New York Red Bulls 2 take a 4-goal lead. Well, don't forget to get your tickets for 2019 here at MSU Soccer Park. More expansions coming, another stand opening up as New York Red Bulls 2 make this their permanent home for the future. And let's take a look at the highlights from today. New York Red Bulls 2 getting off to a hot start offensively and taking a 1-0 lead.
And again, that comes from Tom Barlow coming out wide to get the ball, cuts it back. Decent little look on frame, but what I like to highlight about that play was just the movement off of the ball. And then again, 1-2 touch passing in the good positions. Nothing comes of that, but again, using that wing to take that space. And again, Barlow coming out from a wide position. Not seeing Moreno on the cut back or perhaps attempting and being off, but again, a lot of that space coming from these wide positions. Again, that final pass, which we see here, is just off a little bit, almost in the stride of Barlow, but
eventually, Barlow just found it himself. Turnover here from Banker Yazil, and Tom Barlow gets his 8th goal of the year.
Yeah, opportunistic, you know, a guy like that with that type of energy up top, a little bit of a half press, and when you cough that up with his speed, you're not going to catch him. But again, so often we see players with that kind of speed struggle in front of frame because they're at such a high velocity that they don't have the ability to calm down and slot it. But you could see, especially from what the live angle was when he looks up, really opens up his hip to that back post and slots it side netting. It makes it look easy, but put it that wide of the center of the goal is quite impressive.
Got the fans up on their feet, 1,600 of them. The largest home crowd of the season for New York Red Bulls 2. As we take a look around the league, Swole Park Rangers get a nice 5-1 win against LA Galaxy 2. So Swole Park Rangers locked in as the 7th seed in the Western Conference. And you see Bethlehem Steel, a 14th minute goal for them early on against the Rowdies. they hang on, so they can drop only as far as 6th. They moved all the way up from 8th place in with that win, putting the pressure on New York Red Bulls too. Red Bulls too have to hang on here, otherwise if they lose, they could be headed to Cincinnati for the first round of the the USL playoffs. The two teams coming back out here. We saw those stats, Heath, on the game for Pittsburgh. 6 shots, most of them, though, coming in those final 15 minutes. How do they keep that energy, keep that momentum?
Again, using those wing backs to their advantage. Those guys, is when they were getting high and wide and they were pressing up and they were the first layer of the attack, and the attack further up the field, they were far more effective than when they're sitting back nearer to the back line. So I think, again, using their attack to their advantage, using the players and the skill set that they have, isn't effective if they're trying to do it out of their back line on top of their own box. They need to get the ball higher up the field and attack in higher positions.
Coming back out here for the second half, no changes for Bob Lilly's side. So we won't see any personnel changes. We'll see if tactically it stays similar coming here for the final 45 minutes of the regular season of the 2018 USL. It's been a great year across the league. Big seasons out west once again from Sacramento Republic, the Phoenix Rising and Real Monarchs all chasing Orange County. It's going to be a fun playoff battle there. And then, of course, on the east side, FC Cincinnati creating history in their final year in USL action. And now with Fatai Alash and Fernando Adi in tow, looking to get their first playoff win, as they've never won a playoff game in USL action. Of course, going to a US Open Cup semifinal last year. They have won some knockout games. Parks with the early cross here. Francois puts it over his own head and can't find his teammate in Brett. So, Heath, I asked how you keep that momentum for Pittsburgh that they had late in that first half, and they've come out on fire here. Zemanski's shot is blocked. Moreno trying to get away. Clips it over the top for Barlow. Barlow in a foot race. Lind is out. And the goalkeeper reads the danger. And Heath, you got to think Coach Wolinek's got his fingers crossed saying, I hope Bob Lilly brings his team out to come after us, because that's how New York Red Bulls too want to play open, chaotic games.
Yeah, they want you to think that you can play through those spots, and, you know, with the gegenpress or the counter pressing, pounce on anything, any sort of lack of sharpness.
Moreno gets a cross in. It's knocked away by Dover. Finally cleared away by Pittsburgh. Energetic opening to this second half, as we expected. Throwing quickly taken by New York. These are the moments it's interesting with Caceres and this team, Heath, because he's got a different ethos, as you've talked about all day, than a lot of New York Red Bulls players, MLS and USL. He doesn't always want to play as frenetic a pace, and sometimes you see that pendulum swing a little bit, maybe more than Coach Wolenek would like at times when he's out there on the field.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when the game has to go fast, he's not the type of guy that's going to be willing to take a high-risk pass or try to force the ball forward in certain positions. He's a lot more calm. He likes to see and feel the rhythm of the game, and that can sometimes work in your favor when you're trying to settle in, or if you're controlling the game the right way. When the game starts to speed up, it can certainly work against you.
Mistake there from Cutler. Parks now looking for an opening the other way. Gets by Echeverria easily. Scarlett scuffs his clearance, but it rolls out. It'll be a throw in for the Riverhounds. And the crowd wants a foul there. Now Parks is onside, and he could not bring his touchdown. The flag did stay down, Heath, but he could not get it under control going into the box.
Great little driven ball over the top there. Parks obviously is going to wish he had that one back as he was behind the back line. Flag down. Pretty good position.
Now New York looking for an opening. Echeverria closing up the top of the 18. He lays it off. That was Aguinaga with the shot. Now sprayed back wide by Politz. Aguinaga finding space once again. Gets to the end line here, can't keep it in play.
Again, Aguinaga does so well there to drive into that space. Gets a little bit caught between two minds. Whether to give himself a shot or a pass, and here's another look on that shot from top of the box.
It hit Barlow. So not great communication there between the two teammates.
But again, it's good to see the start of this half where they've got 4 or 5 players around the top of the box in dangerous positions. It's what we didn't see a lot of from either team in the first half.
Lee now turns it over. Cutler can't get a clean touch on it. Yanez has to make the play coming across the box, and then Parks, I'm not sure if he was shooting or passing that one, and it goes out over the end line. It was a good defensive play by Yanez to get the danger away on the initial through ball. And unfortunate to see Parks put that one over the top.
Looks like from that initial defensive play, Coach Wolenick was on the edge of his technical area, a little bit upset. He was asking for a foul to stop that play, which wasn't called.
And we have seen quite a few hotly contested games between these two teams, especially here at MSU Soccer Park for New York Red Bulls too over the last few months. Scarlett heads it back now for Levine. It seems though, Heath, like the game's opening up a little bit more. More space for the Canardo Forbes and Casares of the world to find some space to work into.
Naturally, you're going to see this game open up sometimes when there's a lot at stake like there is in terms of playoff positioning for a team. They come out a little bit more with a chess game approach.
Lee's left-footed cross. It's headed away. Forbes called for the foul on the top of the box.
They come out a little more timid or reserved to see how the game settles in or plays out. It seems like the start of the second half, it's definitely opened up. A little more space on the field.
To the replay here is Forbes. It's called for the push in the back. Canardo Forbes has been a captain for Bob Lilly for a number of years now. He's split the last few years playing indoor soccer with the Syracuse Silver Knights, where he was the MVP of the 2016 season, as well as playing with the Rochester Rhinos and now with the Riverhounds. Zemansky's had a quiet afternoon. Pittsburgh looking to cycle it around Greenspan with the direct ball. Zemansky with the flick on Francois, gets a touch. It was a soft shot, and it was cleared away by Politz after Scarlett came diving in. Yanez with the second clearance. And Forbes now looking to get it down the right side. Plenty of space for Dover. Now Forbes' shot is blocked and cleared away by Casares. Pittsburgh has done everything but score here in this second half. Anka Yazil's cross goes all the way through the box. And Moreno knocks it away for a corner kick. What a moment here, Heath.
Again, square passes, little passes, players diving in. A little bit of half-hearted defending for a few moments there. When that player was free on the back post, Cutler reacting slow, players not really tuned in to these moments. If they get out of that one alive, hopefully that wakes them up a little bit.
Cossares and Lee collide there. It'll be a throw-in for New York. And this is the big replay here, Heath. The clearance off the line. Scarlett went sliding, and he's fortunate that his partner Pollitt's cleaned it up.
I think Scarlett did a good job of forcing him to commit or going down, forcing him to set his feet or plant his foot to shoot. Gave just enough time for Pollitt to get back, but again, it looked like Cutler was looking at the defender next to him, thinking he was going to get there, kind of fell asleep for a second, and when you're an outside back, you got to make sure you're covering that space at all times, playing with a pessimistic mindset, assuming that it's always going to go in behind you or that it's always going to be your ball to make that play.
Yanez with the clearance. Barlow takes an elbow in the back there, and now we get the call from Matt Franz, our head official. David Goss and Heath Pierce on the call for you on ESPN Plus. The finale of the 2018 regular season in USL.
See here, just Greenspan going in, making his presence felt.
Pollitt turns that one over. New York able to force it back into possession. Moreno with some space here. His shot is blocked by Greenspan and out for a corner.
We see just from a few seconds of falling asleep on the other end. The Red Bulls, too, so opportunistic on turnovers and attack with so much pace and certainty to goal, bringing attacks to a conclusion. So good at taking one or two passes and turning that into a goal-scoring opportunity.
It cost us to take this corner. That looked like a golden chance for Moreno. Corner kick played in, easily taken by Lind at the top of the 6. No one in a white shirt around him. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, 17 shutouts this year. Lead USL, that's their all-time record in a single season. Daniel Lind has backstopped them throughout the year. Beaten, though, already by Tom Barlow in this one. Shows you how formidable a team this has been in 2018. Pollitt wins possession back for New York.
It's exactly what you want to do in this situation is find the ball on Caceres' feet. 2-3 minutes now of second ball battles in the midfield. Scrapping, fighting, trying to get the ball under control again. And Red Bulls 2 do a good job of finding that player who's so calm you can find him in any position and he'll try to find an answer to the problems. Now draw a foul here.
Heath, we've seen it a lot in this game, so explain it to lay people like us. When no one's in possession for large stretches, when it's long ball, second ball, what does that mean?
It just means that either there's too much pressing happening right now, not enough movement off the ball, or sometimes in situations like that, the ball's just in the air. So everybody's just heading it back and forth, trying to move the ball forward or backward to keep it out of any dangerous positions. Sorry, and it doesn't always have a singular meaning, but you ultimately want to get that ball back on the pitch, back on the ground.
Caceres puts this one in. It's headed down.
But having said that, by the way, there are plenty of teams that like to play in those positions where the ball's never really settled. It's in the air a lot. Trying to bang heads, win second balls, get it into wide positions, whip it in, kind of keep the game frantic like that. Whereas I think the Red Bulls, too, enjoy a frantic paced game, but have the quality to open up teams, the ball on the ground, in spaces behind, break lines of pressure through their passing.
Lee with the ball over the top. Was looking for either Parks or Francois. Scarlett trying to play out of pressure. That one won easily by Adewale, but put out of bounds. You can stay up to date with all the best from social media around the USL by watching Off the Post with Kelsey Steele every Friday evening on the USL's social media channels. If you follow New York Red Bulls 2 on Twitter, you would have seen a great video of them celebrating on the bus when they found out that they'd clinched a playoff spot as Indy 11 dropped points. New York Red Bulls 2 got the win 3-1 at Penn FC. Sorry, it was North Carolina FC that dropped points for allowing New York Red Bulls 2 to clinch. It has been a cluster from basically 4th down to 10th in the Eastern Conference for a lot of the year. Brett clips this one to the far post, taken easily by Levine. He looks to go quickly for Barlow. Vanka Yazil wins that header in a tough situation. And now Aguinaga called for the handball. Matt Franz will move this one back about a yard and a half.
When you're looking, like you said, 4 to 10 being a cluster, that's where you really that's where your team's really getting tested. So I could see why they're excited to, you know, we talked about the celebration video. Be excited to make the playoffs. It's been a year where there's been a lot of teams that have been inching towards the playoffs. And then you hit a road stand that it's always a high risk for your team. You go on the road a lot.
Moreno in an offside position. And you talk about a team here where off to the right of this camera, above the parking structure behind the goal, is the banners for the 2016 USL regular season and postseason championship. Since 2015, John Wolyniec has now made the playoffs all 4 years. He's one of 4 coaches or one of 4 clubs in that time to do that in USL. As that ball's flicked over the top. Sacramento, Louisville, and Charleston, the other 3. And John Wolyniec's team since 2015 has collected the 3rd most points in the league behind Sacramento and Louisville. So this team had to carry that legacy with them, that pressure with them. And also Coach Wolyniec's been pretty successful in his first 4 years as a pro coach.
Well, that's the thing, and not to discredit anything that he's doing, but his challenge is far greater than these other teams are. When you look at Charleston, Louisville, and Sacramento, they're not dealing with ever-changing rosters and players that are moving within the organizations, right? These you might have some players on loan and whatnot, but to be able to constantly stick to a system and a philosophy and make the playoffs every year, you're not seeing that anywhere else. And that's a quality in terms of recruitment, the players that you're signing, but more importantly, the coaching and that consistency, because the players are going to come in and out throughout an entire season, whether you have players coming from the MLS team, coming back from injury, not getting the minutes. All of these types of things can truly disrupt a locker room. And to be able to do that 4 seasons in a row, at a certain point, you have to give the credit to the coach.
Coach Wolyniec going to try and steal 3 more here as Levine makes the save. John Wolyniec, of course, a New York Red Bull legend as a player. Played in USL in his time as well as in Major League Soccer. Known by a lot as the Staten Island Messi, obviously.
Yeah.
As you see that save there. Another big opportunity here in the second half for New York Red Bulls. Sorry, for Pittsburgh Riverhounds. New York Red Bulls, too, are going to give John Wolyniec a little bit of an assist with that player ID work that he's been doing, as Jamie Ponce has been named general manager this week of New York Red Bulls 2. Taking some of the responsibility off Sean Oliver's plate. He's had to deal with all of it alongside Coach Wolyniec and hopefully making this job just a little bit easier, although Scott Levine's job is about to get a little bit harder, as maybe the best look of the game coming up here for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
For Jamie Ponce, though, it's always a good sign when you're general manager and you have your best attendance of the year right after you start.
Clear foul there by Moreno. Seen Moreno struggle a few times when asked to defend here in this game. We saw Canardo Forbes hit one directly on Levine's hands in the first half, a little bit farther away, but from a similar area. Now it's a full-on oligarchy here, having this conversation, Heath. You got to think someone's hitting a shot.
You would think so. That's a lot to talk about there. Usually at this point in the season, you know who's your specialist, and occasionally you have the person who says that they're feeling something, and you want to test that. But, you know, again, this is exactly where you don't want to be giving up free kicks when a team who hasn't really settled in or done a whole lot is kind of scrapping for chances. You're now giving them a great look from a set piece on.
And you can see Parks and Greenspan on the edge of that wall, trying to make it harder for Levine if Forbes chooses to target him. Forbes trying to get it over the wall, and he hits it. So it does the job for New York Red Bulls, too. Dover with the second header back in. Can Pittsburgh find his second chance out of this? Nope. Aguinaga does enough defensively.
Francois looking for a foul there, but great defending by Aguinaga to just get into his running lane, bump him off balance, and then draw a throw-in out of it.
And an interesting sub here from Coach Wolenek. He brings on Andrew Tenari for Steven Echeverria. Andrew Tenari was a lockdown starter up until the last few weeks for New York Red Bulls, too, and worn the captain's armband a number of times. This his 33rd appearance. He has 29 starts. But a more attacking player, Heath. A more possession player, but a more attacking player.
Yeah, he's got great movement off the ball. Obviously, he can score goals. 7 goals so far this season.
And immediately, New York Red Bulls, too, going to get on the attack. Moreno one-on-one with Adewale here. Cuts it back to the feet of Barlow. Slides it in for Cutler. Out wide, Tenari's first touch of the game. And now New York Red Bulls, too, will cycle possession back. And you immediately see what Tenari can bring to the game.
So crafty, pacey. Great skill sets. Surprising he wasn't in the lineup today, but, you know, again, showing the kind of player he is not allowing himself to be bothered by not being in the lineup, gets himself quickly into the match, getting touches.
And he's a player who loves to cycle the ball, to keep possession moving as Moreno gets called for the foul. So he could be the perfect addition here to just relieve some of the press, some of the stress for some of these players as an outlet in possession, and a guy who can link up with Casares.
Absolutely, and not only linking up with Casares, but also allowing him to get a little bit more connected to that front line, kind of being a little bit more that two-way guy, help relieve some of that pressure, connect the game on the pitch or on the ground, and then ultimately link up with the attack, which has seemed a little bit disconnected today for the most part for the first 65 minutes.
Scarlett blasts that ball off the face of Francois. And Matt France will check in on him. Cristiano Francois has had a bright game. Native of Cabaret, Haiti. As I mentioned, went to prep school here in Newark. Played 2 years at Maryland. Spent last year in Rochester under Bob Lilly, and now slides over. In 12 appearances last year, he had 6 assists. 4 goals and 5 assists already this year. One of the leading attackers on this Pittsburgh Riverhounds squad is the Haitian Youth International. Derek Etienne Jr., former New York Red Bull 2 player, I guess current, as well as New York Red Bull player, had 2 goals for Haiti last week. Heath, when you make that first appearance, like Alan Yanez, 21 years old, gets a cap against Argentina, what does that do? How does it change your perception? How does it change your game or who you are as a player?
Well, again, I don't know what the result of that match was against Argentina, but it's certainly not the one that I would be excited for it, but when you're Guatemala playing against an Argentina, it's a pretty big lopsided matchup. But again, it does so much for your confidence because you start to realize that the game, as you scale upwards or you progress upwards, it becomes all the little details that make the difference. The game's a little bit faster. It's a little more intense, so you have to think faster. You have to think ahead. Your technique becomes, from being one of the more technical players on your team, you start to maybe find yourself at the bottom of your team. You know, you see that there's quality players, and it only makes you a better player.
Foot race there, and Levine gets there first. There's Cristiano Francois closing in, and Levine quick off his line to get there.
Well done from Levine to commit to that right away. It's so easy when you see a pacey winger coming at you to hesitate. He's fully committed and won that ball. Good decision making.
So I thought, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to say anything. Guatemala only lost that game 3-0.
Okay.
It's Argentina.
But in theory, right, you're an outside back, or whether, you know, if that's the position that he played in, you're not going to see the ball much. You're going to be defending a lot. And so, you know, if you can come out of that game with a few big moments of saying, you know, I went one-on-one with X, Y, or Z and stopped him a few times, that's where you find the confidence in. But, you know, in general, you know, I remember my first.
And a penalty coming here. An easy call from Matt Franz. And he could have thrown New York Red Bulls to playoff destiny into a cloud here.
Yeah, not a lot of arguments coming from the Red Bulls too. At least no one throwing a fit, which you would expect when it's a clear non-call. Just looks like he gets his legs tangled up, goes into a challenge.
I think Jordan Scarlett was the only person on the other side of that play. So he didn't get the right angle, but it looked like Brian White clearly made contact on the left side of the body.
He goes in to win that ball there, and Pittsburgh player does a good job of keeping his body in front and drawing that tackle or that foul in. And
so it looks like Canardo Forbes to take. The captain stepping up here. Looking for what would be his 5th goal of the season. Levine to face his first penalty of 2018. Pittsburgh Riverhounds trying to knot this one up at 1-1. Forbes with the right-footed shot. And Levine makes the save. And it's pushed away by White. And he goes over and hugs the goalkeeper.
Does a great job there. He's patient off of his line. Commits, reacts well. When you talk about a guy who's playing for his job or playing for his role within the organization, or just trying to prove that he's got the quality when not having played a lot of matches so far this year, it's exactly what you want, stepping up in a huge moment like that where there's things on the line. It's not just a friendly, it's not just a match, and he's stepping up to that challenge. He reads that well. It's exactly what you want out of a guy like that, to rise to the challenge, rise to the occasion.
And how often do we see goalkeepers guess the right way, Heath, but lose their technique and dive over the ball, dive past the ball? It wasn't a great attempt from Forbes, which sometimes is tougher for goalkeepers to anticipate. And Levine does the right thing there, keeps his arm down alongside his body and makes the save. Naga now into the feet of Barlow. He's got some space if he goes early. His shot's deflected. It'll go out for a corner kick.
But it's like you said, you know, sometimes the easiest spot to score on is that one right next to the goalkeeper as he starts to lay out, as his body sort of arches. But he does well to go into the right direction and then get his body down and just sort of wait for that ball within that space. Doesn't over dive or over commit, and then does a great job not to just parry that back into the middle for a rebound, but gets it wide of any danger. All of those things he makes look easy, but clearly more difficult than usual, as you see here. His approach, again, not a great strike, but he does so well to get down, get it into a wide position, telling his defender to clear it, clear the lines. Fantastic job.
So substitution now, Ben Zemanski goes off. And in place of him, looks like it's going to come on Mohamed Dabo. He'll come on immediately. The 22-year-old Senegalese to defend this corner kick. It's a chance for New York. It's off the post. And now an offside flag goes up on the second opportunity. It was almost a double whammy for Pittsburgh as they see the save on one end and inches away from a goal for New York on the other.
Sonar, we talked about Barlow getting up. His athleticism falls right down to Moreno, who's just a few yards off the line. The clear looks unable to put any real power or direction behind it, and that ball stays alive.
And it was Lind who made the save. It did not go off the post, but didn't end up counting. As you said, Moreno in an offside position. Francois onside here. He's got time to find a teammate, and he puts it over Parks' head. Heath, this game has come to life here in the second half. We saw a clearance off the goal line in the opening minutes of this second half. Penalty kick save, and now chances both ways for these two teams.
You talked about that cross there. Yanez, a more attack-minded player, is probably going to be talked to at a certain point that you want to be closer, you want to deny that type of cross, and those are the things he's going to learn over time of really closing that space so that as soon as that winger puts his head down to cross the ball, you've closed that gap to where you have a chance to block that cross, because a better cross there puts them right level after a huge momentum swing with the penalty save.
And coming on here in place of Armando Moreno is Jared Stroud. Stroud's one of the top attacking teams, one of the top attacking players on the team. He's got 6 goals and 11 assists on the year. Stroud currently tied for 5th in USL with those 11 assists. Of course, Emmanuel Ledesma in first with 16 assists. He has been outstanding for FC Cincinnati throughout the year. Don't forget, you're going to have a chance to check him out as well as all of these other top players in the USL playoffs kicking off next week. The road to the 2018 USL Cup. It'll be on ESPN2 on Thursday, November 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can stay up to date with the matchups, brackets, kickoff times, storylines, and more at uslsoccer.com. Right now, New York Red Bulls 2 would be headed to Charleston next week as the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. If Pittsburgh can find 1 goal in this one, then New York would be headed to Pittsburgh for a rematch next week as the 6th seed. If Pittsburgh can find 2 unanswered goals, Heath, then the New York Red Bulls would be headed to Cincinnati as the 8th seed. Still a lot to play for here.
If that's not a motivator, not that they have kind of real-time updates, but
they know, because coming out on the field, every other game in the league is done. We are the last ones, the last holdouts here, Heath, of the 2018 USL regular season.
I've been in positions before where you win, you play X, you lose, you play Y, and you know, while that's certainly a factor that you know about, you know, as a professional, you approach every game wanting to win, right? You don't want that to have to be the motivator or that to be the thing that lights the fire under your team, but you know, that awareness certainly helps, you know, understand the stakes or the magnitude of this match. When you put an entire year into a season, you can either play a team that's the best by far in the league or somebody else.
Heath, take us into the next week for these players. What is a playoff week like? Because you said you play all season, but they're not win-or-go-home games, and now it all comes down to 90 minutes. What is preparation like? What's the atmosphere like? How do you try and handle the pressure over the course of 7 days?
There's certainly more nerves, right? There's more that anxiousness. You almost don't even want to train. You just want to play the game. You just want to go out and play it because it just lingers over you the entire week, whether it's a couple days or an entire week. It just weighs on you. So there's an excitement, but if anybody's capable of handling this situation, it's a Coach Wolnick and how he's going to approach it. It's not his first time in this scenario. A lot of these players are been cutting their chops as young players this year, and now they get to prove themselves in more meaningful games. It's excitement. That's the main way to put it. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Joe Holland coming on here for Ray Lee. So Holland, a more attacking central midfield player, coming on for a wingback, although looks like he may come on like for like along that left side. Holland's been a bright spot for this team since joining in the middle of the season. Just 25 years old at a Hofstra University, originally from London. Drafted by the Houston Dynamo last year at number 10 in the MLS Super Draft. Forbes not happy with Caceres at all right now. And you can hear the crowd react to Canardo Forbes.
Clearly not happy with the call there. Getting into a little bit of a verbal battle with Caceres and the other players.
I have a question, Heath. Did you ever have a foreign teammate who came and played with you here in the U.S. who you had to explain the playoff system to? Or they always understand what's going on?
As you get into, Central, North America, South America, you have a lot more playoff type of systems. You sort of explain it as the cup system of what they're used to. In other leagues that are single table, you explain it as sort of the way you would play the League Cup.
Parks here, gets by Politz. Scarlett looking to recover. Parks gets it to his left foot, and his shot goes wide. Scarlett closed the window. Levine got off his line. And Heath, one of the best looks of the game for Romeo Parks.
Yeah, that great first touch there, and then when he's off to the races, there's not a lot of players in this league that'll catch him, but Scarlett does such a great job to cut off that angle and again lay out, forcing him to have to make a decision. And between him and the goalkeeper, it takes a little bit of an elbow to the back of the head, pretty much closing off any window or forcing Parks to have to do or create something magical from that angle, which he's wasn't able to do.
You could see Scarlett in that replay kind of hop a little as he was running. I think he felt one of his muscles go, and now he's trying to get stretched out and get ready to finish out this game. It's been an outstanding performance from a player in Scarlett who's lost his spot at times throughout this 2018 season.
Really solid performance from him, and again, had to put out a few fires where he's gone from walking to jogging to full-blown sprint mode where he's had to lay his body out, and that certainly takes a toll on his body. Again, also being quite good on the ball today. Good entry balls, good passing, breaking down the lines.
And New York Red Bulls, too, do have Hassan Endom on the bench. Endom's played almost every single minute of the year for New York Red Bulls, too. Hassan Endom was number 16 on the USL 20 under 20 list. Who are your young standouts competing in the USL? You need to know. Check out the 2018 USL 20 under 20 throughout this week at uslsoccer.com. They reveal the best 20 young players in the league. Christian Caceres was 12th on that list. Ben Mines was number 10. Mines, of course, out for the year with that shoulder injury he picked up. But 3 of the 20 best young players in USL, at least rated by urinalists, not by real people that know soccer.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's an argument for all of them. I mean, there's a lot of players on the squad that are of age and quality players, budding professionals, getting opportunities to prove themselves and develop in an extremely professional and intense environment.
And you look at what Real Monarchs has done with some great young players out west. You look at Swole Park Rangers making it to back-to-back USL Cup finals in 2016 and 17. There's been a lot of great young players coming through the USL. One named Alfonso Davies who we might have a chance to see in Champions League in the Bundesliga. Made his professional soccer debut in USL. What seems oh so long ago for a guy who's still only 17, but led the Gold Cup in scoring last year.
We've talked about it a lot, especially with these young players, 22, 23 and younger, the opportunity that's presented in USL for them to develop and play against 10, 12, 15-year pros at times is incredible for them and something that didn't always exist for young players.
Yeah, you look at a situation here, Steven Echeverria coming out of Wake Forest. You get a chance to go out and battle against Conardo Forbes, who's a full Jamaican international, 30 years old, professional. Ben Zemanski, who's won college championships, MLS Cups. And you get a chance to learn the game at the highest level and prove yourself to your coaching staff and to coaching staffs around the league. That's the other thing, Heath, that a lot of these guys have talked to us about is I'm not just trying, I'm putting myself out there for anyone else who maybe potentially sees what they need in me.
Absolutely, and the landscape.
New York Red Bulls too trying to get a shot off. A lot of black jerseys though at the top of that box, and it finally breaks free for Francois.
Yeah, the landscape in the game right now, especially between USL, MLS, makes it a place where there's always people watching, television happening across all of the leagues. Gives people an opportunity to kind of be on the or under the spotlight regularly for teams and coaches.
Stroud's cross here, headed away by Greenspan, who has repelled all of New York Red Bulls' two attacks so far today. It was an individual mistake from Van Kuyazil that gave Tom Barlow the opening for the lone strike so far in this one. New York Red Bulls 2 leading 1-0. Barlow's header at the near post goes out. We've got 5 minutes left to play of the 2018 USL regular season. New York Red Bulls 2 trying to hang on and clinch the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference and a trip to Charleston next week to open up the USL playoffs. That would be a great memory for New York Red Bulls too. As we see Kevin Kerr come on here. Figure one of those players Bob Lilly wanted to rotate a little and give him some rest here in this last game of the regular season, as we said. Already locked in to the 3 seed. New York Red Bulls 2 last year in the first round of the playoffs headed down to Charleston, then the 2nd seed, and they got a 4-0 win in Charleston, so they would love a repeat, as it will be Jordan Scarlett to come off as the final sub. Hassan Endam will close out the last few minutes as Scarlett goes off with that injury we saw him holding, but the Iona Gale, a good performance for him to try and work his way into the conversation alongside Politz and Endam at center back for the rest of this season, however long that may go.
Look, it's a huge compliment to get the captain's band. And it's another thing to go out and show why you have the captain's band. And I think he did that today. He was comfortable on the ball, good defensively, organizing, put out the fire in a few big plays. His commitment to get back and make that big play is certainly proving his case as to why he should be competing for that starting position.
Adewale trying to find a teammate, and Dom now coming in with 2 huge clearances. Hassan Endam has definitely shown growth here throughout the 2018 season. Still just 19 years old. But you can see throughout the season as well the strides he has to make. Times getting pulled out of position and losing his man.
One thing just watching him for a few seconds now is automatically just taking over that back line as the leader.
Cross comes in. Politz deflects it at the near post.
They got one clear their lines, and he's pushing the line up, kind of owning how high or low they sit as a back line.
Barlow's got Stroud to his right. Stroud has to slow up to get the pass. Holland goes to ground, makes the tackle, and comes away with possession. And Dom heads this one down. Heath, was it a mistake from Barlow to pass it?
I feel like it's the right look, but again, you've got to bring those attacks to a conclusion. You're sitting on the top of the box. If that's what presents itself, you're not going to be able, no one's going to allow you to just walk it in. But he lays that off. Again, maybe the right thing is to take another touch or two to draw that defender out, force him to make a decision, then lay that off, but you run the risk of losing that angle.
And Holland was recovering. He did his job there as a wing back. This cross comes in, and Dom flicks it over himself and out the other side. Now Stroud battling with Holland, who eventually wins back possession. Van Kuyazil pushes it wide. Kerr making a difference in his few minutes in this one. See how high Adewale and Van Kuyazil are playing now as the left and right center back. Tenari there puts his hands up to say I didn't do anything and then just takes possession. Now Stroud pushing up the field. Van Kuyazil, the interception in front of Barlow. It looked like Barlow was off to the races there if that ball had a little bit more juego on it.
Huge opportunity to leave it up to Barlow to finish that off there, but he's certainly in a position with a lot of runway before the half line.
Cutler steps into this interception. And Greenspan cleans up his mistake. And now a chance for Pittsburgh to try and take advantage with Cutler out of position. They go to the right to their leading goal scorer, Nico Brett, who gets by Levine but can't put it on frame. And we will have a minimum of 5 minutes of stoppage time. We had a penalty kick. We had an injury to Scarlett. But Heath, that's a good amount of stoppage time.
It's a good amount of stoppage time, and in that situation there, well done from Yanez to just get him off balance. But again, Cutler, so much time and space to keep the ball, kill the game off, makes a bad decision and a turnover. And he's a guy that I've seen or felt is a little bit disconnected from the team today, a little bit slow to react defensively, not in great positions, and again with an opportunity to prove himself there, the turnover, and then even slow to react or head back to the transition on the defense.
Stroud now once again. This one more in stride as he cuts in field. He puts it in the back of the net. And that'll be it for New York Red Bulls 2. A 2-0 lead over the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and they will clinch the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference.
You never want to wait until the 90-plus minutes to see this type of attack with speed. Obviously, Pittsburgh leaving more and more players up, taking more risks, but this is the Red Bulls 2 team that we've been watching the entire year. Fast on the counter, dynamic, explosive, and of course, Stroud strikes that so well. The moment it leaves his foot, you can tell he knows that's going in. But again, getting out on the break with numbers, with pace, sharp passing. We haven't seen it a lot tonight, but in the last few minutes, they've had a few chances to do that. And again, putting this game now out of reach, securing that 5th spot. And again, another onus to the work that they put in this season. Under pressure, understanding the stakes, situational awareness for this young squad. It's impressive.
And you have to tip your hat to John Wolenek. He brings off a defensive mid in Echeverria. He brings on Tenari. He brings off a winger in Moreno. He brings on another attacker in Stroud, forced into a center back substitution, but continued to bring on attacking pieces, Heath, and gets that second goal.
Absolutely, and it'd be easy, right, as you were explaining, to throw on a defensive player and try to see out a 1-0 or grind it out, but obviously trusting that back line and the leadership that they have, obviously forced in putting and Dom on the field, which is never a bad thing when you're forced to put a player of that quality onto the field. But, you know, again, understanding that you can bring on a player, there's space. The space is going to open up. Taking that risk as a calculated risk and knowing that it could pay off in the form of a goal and securing the win is exactly what he did, and it's paid off.
New York Red Bulls, too, are going to finish the 2018 USL regular season in 5th place in the Eastern Conference. And they have set a date with the Charleston Battery for next week in the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds, as I said, are going to clinch the 3rd seed that they were already locked into, and now they know their opponent will be Indy 11 next week at Highmark Stadium. Don't forget, stick to uslsoccer.com. You can go to newyorkredbulls.com/2 or www.riverhounds.com for all of your game information, match times, and of course, tickets. This, Heath, is the best time of the year. You could feel the energy in the crowd, the excitement. The cold just makes you think championship right now.
Absolutely, and you could see the excitement of the players even on the field when they scored that goal, understanding that they've secured that spot. It's a fun time of year, everything to play for.
Kerr slides this one into the path of Brett, looking for his partner in Parks. And Heath, we saw great attacking impetus in the second half from Pittsburgh. They didn't bring it to open the game, but since they gave up the goal, they've been the better attacking team the last 60 minutes. But New York Red Bulls, too, probably have created the better chances.
Absolutely. You know, again, took them a while to settle into that 3-5-2 or whatever iteration you want to call that, but you know, found themselves a lot of players unable to get those players in advanced positions. As soon as they started opening up and taking those risks, completely different squad.
Holland creating some space down the wing in the final seconds here. So it'll be a corner kick. All 10 field players for Pittsburgh will get in the box. Jared Stroud, his 7th goal of the year to go along with 11 assists. What a year it has been for the Colgate man, his first year in professional soccer. And on the far side, Joe Greenspan gets himself a goal as Pittsburgh refuses to go quietly into the night. Joe Greenspan, the least celebration you could see. His
Obviously
3rd goal of the season.
Rises up well there.
Using that height and athleticism that he's shown since he's come out of Navy. We'll see if there's enough time here for Pittsburgh to get one more look at this and try and get a draw. And there will not be. New York Red Bulls, too, clinch 5th place in the Eastern Conference. What a season it has been for both these teams. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds will finish the year at 15-4-14 on 59 points. New York Red Bulls, too, will finish at 12-8-13 on 52 points. What a year for New York Red Bulls, too. Tom Barlow with the opener. Jared Stroud followed it up with his 7th goal of the year off the bench. Heath, from start to end, not a perfect performance, but a good one for Coach Wolinek's side.
Once again, finding ways to get results at this time of year. We saw in the last few weeks them finding ways to get results on the road, here at home against a team that's already clinched, approaching the game a little bit differently, throwing something different at them in terms of where players are on the field, that style, that formation. Difficult to play against, but they found the answers over 90 minutes. And again, it's one of those things, you don't necessarily take the 90 minutes and you say, wow, we've learned something from this, but you do take that win and say, hey, we're on a roll right now. We've got momentum going into the playoffs.
New York Red Bulls 2-1 winners at home at MSU Soccer Park to close out the 2018 regular season. We'll be back in just a moment with their post-game coverage here on ESPN+.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. So you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. A shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health. Life years ahead.
A big night under the lights for New York Red Bulls, too. Their biggest crowd of the year at MSU Soccer Park. A big matchup against the third-place team in the Eastern Conference, New York Red Bulls, too. A 2-1 win. Heath, let's see how they got it done.
Opening off of Barlow being opportunistic, a bad turnover there, but he slots it to the back post. Fantastic finish, and then here, this goalkeeper playing for his job, playing for his future, makes a huge save.
It was almost a double whammy as New York Red Bulls, too, had that chance about 30 seconds later. And then it was back and forth, but Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Heath, they did not give up. They created some dangerous chances.
Arks here rounds the corner, gets a good look, but again, great recovery for that Red Bulls 2 back line to cut off that angle, force it wide.
And the New York Red Bulls, too, they bring 2 attacking players off the bench. In a game they lead 1-0, and Coach Wolonek gets the reward with Jared Stroud's 7th goal.
Simple passing, finding the right pass. Again, it's not always about the next pass, but is it the right pass? Something we've seen from them all year. We didn't see till late in the match today, but again, simple passes, turn, look, setting up that pass for the most dangerous player, and then Stroud does the work, sets himself up with his first touch, and then finds a spot on the back post and drives it home.
7 goals and 11 assists on the year. Explosive for Jared Stroud in his first year of professional soccer out of Colgate University. Looking to be one of the difference makers for New York Red Bulls, too, in the playoffs going forward. Pittsburgh Riverhounds outshoot New York Red Bulls, too. And, of course, no cards but the penalty kick going against Brian White that Canardo Forbes could not put away. New York Red Bulls, too, slight possession edge. Heath, now they go on the road. Headed to Charleston next week for a playoff game. And this team looking to copy last year and win a couple road playoff games.
Last year they were good on the road, though. So if you asked me a month ago, I'd say I'm really worried about this team. But they found their form on the road. They found what it takes, a little bit of that magic sauce, whether they know exactly what that is or it isn't. They know they have that momentum. Now beating a playoff team here today who's already qualified, I think it's the perfect recipe for them to go on the road and repeat what they did in their first match on the road last year in the playoffs.
New York Red Bulls, 52 points, 5th in the East. They finished the year. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds, 59 points, 3rd in the East. And they will host Bethlehem Steel FC in their playoff game next week at home in Pittsburgh. It's been a fun one here from MSU Soccer Park both today and all season. Make sure to stick to NewYorkRedBulls.com/2 and Riverhounds.com for all your ticket and match information for the coming weeks. It's playoff time, everyone. Enjoy from myself, David Goss, Heath Pierce, and everyone on our broadcast. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.